What band tanked after performing on Saturday Night Live? And who botched the national anthem? From a botched apology tour to dropping the F-bomb on live TV, these stars never recovered after their time in the limelight. Ashlee Simpson, the punk rock little sister of Jessica Simpson, was on her way up when she booked a spot on Saturday Night Live in October 2004. Her first album, Autobiography, had recently debuted to commercial success, with significant radio play for her singles Shadow and Pieces of Me. But when the performance experienced a technical hiccup, it exposed a fatal flaw in Ashlee's act. She wasn't actually singing live. When the vocal track being pumped into the studio was for a different song than what her band had started playing, she danced an awkward jig before leaving the rest of her band stranded on stage. She later blamed the rest of her team for the snafu.
I feel so bad my band started playing the wrong song.
Eventually, she took responsibility for the lip-syncing debacle. However, she blamed her decision against singing live on a variety of health issues ranging from severe acid reflux to exhaustion, depending on the interview.
I had a vocal problem. I had two nodes beating against each other, and I woke up and I had no voice.
Regardless, the backlash hit hard. During her performance at the 2005 Orange Bowl, her live vocals were drowned out by a thunderous roar of boos. Her follow-up album, I Am Me, sold roughly a third of the copies in the United States that her debut did. Immediately after the lip-sync incident, which garnered national news coverage, the spell of her success was broken. Her fans turned on her, and her music career never recovered. As far as Saturday Night Live screw-ups go, it's hard to mess up more than Jenny Slate. She's a successful actor and comedian now, but in 2009, she was still an up-and-comer, one who managed to land a coveted role as a writer-performer on Saturday Night Live. In her very first appearance as a cast member on the show, performing in a sketch she wrote called Biker Chick Chat, Slate flubbed her line fantastically, accidentally dropping the F-bomb on live TV.
You stood up for yourself, and I fucking love you for that.
The star wasn't immediately let go, but departed at the end of her first season. In a feature she wrote for Glamour titled How to Survive a Screw-Up at Work, Slate revealed that the experience was hard on her, writing, "It took me a few years to get back to myself. I developed stage fright." Slate added that she's never watched a clip of the incident, and frankly, we don't blame her. Her time at Saturday Night Live may have ended in flames, but the actor certainly bounced back. Slate has since appeared in scene-stealing roles in Parks and Recreation and more. Paula Deen melted her career down when news broke of a lawsuit accusing her of cultivating a bigoted environment within her restaurants. The lawsuit, filed by a former employee, accused Deen not only of tolerating racism in the restaurants she owned, but of exhibiting racist behaviors herself, having allegedly expressed a desire to hold a Southern plantation-style wedding with an exclusively black waitstaff, per a deposition reported by the Daily Beast. During the 2013 lawsuit, the Southern Fried Chef had also admitted to having used racial slurs for black people during her lifetime. Instead of using the experience to apologize and grow, Deen leaned into the skid, going on the defensive by playing the victim card. In a highly panned interview on The Today Show, while speaking with NBC's Matt Lauer, Deen deflected criticism, seemingly expressing shock that people were offended by what she'd said. Lauer raised the notion that perhaps she was only doing the interview in an attempt to curtail her deepening financial complications following the controversy. She denied it.
I am here today because I want people to know who I am.
Deen never quite fully recovered from the hit to her reputation. Regardless, having revamped her YouTube channel, focused on healthier recipes, and experimented with new business opportunities, there's a chance she's slowly started to ease her way back into public favor. 2004 was a year of absolute madness for America. The war in Iraq was surging forward, Martha Stewart went to prison, and the United States came together to absolutely crucify Janet Jackson for exposing her nipple to the nation in a fraction of a second during her Super Bowl halftime show performance with Justin Timberlake. The wardrobe malfunction and its ensuing fracas immortalized by the media as Nipplegate, sent Jackson's career into a nosedive. She was disinvited from the Grammy Awards, her songs were effectively blacklisted from radio play, and the rollouts for her next 2 albums were negatively affected. Looking back, it's an episode colored by absurdity and hypocrisy, considering that multiple people were involved in the exposure. After all, her choreographer had teased that the performance would be shocking to MTV, and it was Timberlake who actually did the exposing by peeling away a portion of her top. However, while Jackson was essentially exiled and demonized, his career never missed a beat. Not only did Timberlake attend the Grammys that year without protest, he even performed at the awards show. It's a slice of media madness that spawned academic articles analyzing the country's outsized reaction to the incident and the public's laser focus on Jackson. It's also a shame most people on this list ended their careers with self-inflicted wounds. But in this case, Jackson was just the unlucky entertainer who fell on the sword. Not all publicity is good publicity, as Fergie discovered when her rendition of the national anthem quickly went viral for all the wrong reasons in 2018. She had been invited to perform at the NBA All-Star Game in Los Angeles' Staples Center and decided to sing a slowed-down version of the Star-Spangled Banner, with seemingly improvised riffs and rhythms. Footage of the controversial vocal performance quickly went viral, showing basketball players and audience members trying not to laugh. An observer told people everyone was just trying to figure out what was going on. Like, was she about to break out into a different song? Then she started doing all those ranges and it just went downhill. Shaquille O'Neal defended her performance during the game's halftime report, praising the singer for taking a different approach, while Charles Barkley quipped that he wanted a cigarette afterwards. The backlash was so severe that Fergie had to issue a formal apology so that nobody thought she had deliberately committed an act of treason.
She sounded like a drunk girl doing karaoke.
In a statement published by People magazine, she said, "I've always been honored and proud to perform the national anthem. And last night, I wanted to try something special for the NBA. I'm a risk taker artistically. But clearly, this rendition didn't strike the intended tone. I love this country and honestly tried my best." As electric as the Saturday Night Live stage can be in the hands of a seasoned performer, Studio 8H has proven to be a brutal testing ground for new artists. For proof, look no further than the 1-2 punch of Lana Del Rey and Karmin performing on the show in 2012. At the time of their respective performances, both artists were up-and-comers, with Del Rey in the process of launching her first major album, and Karmin coming off of a successful string of viral song covers on YouTube. After their performances, both were throttled in the media for bombing as musical guests, but their careers proceeded in very different ways. Del Rey honed her persona and stage presence and found continued success, while Karmin soldiered on down a road to nowhere. What was the difference? While Del Rey was knocked for looking lost on stage, the duo of Karmin faced criticism for their entire act. While the AV Club described their performance as unpleasant, Uproxx simply sniped, "Awful. Every time the singer rapped, a little part of me died." Today, the Karmin project is apparently dead, since they rebranded in 2017 to form an R&B hip-hop project called Queen Herbie. Under this new persona, vocalist Amy Heidemann released a debut album in 2021 and is still putting out EPs. In 2013, Robin Thicke might have taken over the charts with his breakout hit Blurred Lines, but he quickly faced backlash over the song's creepy lyrics. Following the singer's infamous VMAs performance with Miley Cyrus, Thicke's name became more associated with controversy than his music career. While the 20-year-old former Disney star was accused of cultural appropriation and of being a bad role model, the man who had been grinding on her was labeled a chauvinist.
Like, people ask me, do you twerk? I go, listen, I'm the twerk-e. I'm twerked upon.
Thicke's downfall as a singer was pretty swift. The UK's End Violence Against Women Coalition labeled him their Sexist of the Year for 2013. The sales for his follow-up album Paula, an attempt to win back his recently estranged wife Paula Patton, were so abysmal that it quickly dropped off the radar. Additionally, he also lost a lawsuit over whether Blurred Lines had ripped off an old Marvin Gaye song, costing him and his co-writer Pharrell Williams millions. In a 2021 Apple Music interview with Zane Lowe, Thicke insisted that the public love for the controversial song still outweighed the criticism, saying, "You just kind of take it with a grain of salt." He went on to claim that Blurred Lines still got audiences up on their feet and dancing, his only true intention with the track. Although his time as a chart-topping artist may have come to an end, Thicke is still a familiar face thanks to his role as a judge on the show The Masked Singer. Despite all his years as the anchor of NBC Nightly News, Brian Williams was suspended and demoted after military veterans spotted holes in a story he told about his time reporting in Iraq. During a 2015 broadcast, he claimed, "The helicopter we were traveling in was forced down after being hit by an RPG. Our traveling NBC News team was rescued, surrounded, and kept alive by an armor-mechanized platoon from the U.S. Army 3rd Infantry."
2 of our 4 helicopters were hit by ground fire, including the one I was in.
However, members of the 159th Aviation Regiment, who had been present in 2003, wrote to the newspaper Stars and Stripes, contending that a different helicopter had been hit by enemy fire. They claimed that Williams had actually been traveling in one of the helicopters that had arrived later and which were unharmed. During the ensuing backlash, the NBC anchor was accused of lying and stealing glory from the soldiers who had really been in the helicopter that got hit. Williams told Stars and Stripes that he had misremembered the event due to his fear, saying, "I would not have chosen to make this mistake. I don't know what screwed up in my mind that caused me to conflate one aircraft with another.
I made a mistake in recalling the events of 12 years ago."
NBC decided to hand their news anchor a suspension of 6 months after his public apology failed to quell the outrage, and later reassigned him to MSNBC. He eventually retired from the news channel in December 2021. If you haven't heard the name Belle Gibson, it's likely for the best. The disgraced health blogger made a name for herself in the world of wellness with a clean eating app and subsequent cookbook called The Whole Pantry. However, she was stopped in her tracks during her media ascendancy after being caught in a massive, immoral lie. After basing her entire career on the premise that she was managing her brain cancer and a myriad of other maladies through nutrition, it was revealed that Gibson had deceived the world about her illness. She was never sick at all. The accusations against Gibson came to a head during an interview on the Australian version of 60 Minutes, during which Gibson was called to task for her many alleged manipulations. These included befriending a family with a young boy suffering from cancer in order to gain first-hand information about what the disease entailed, taking money meant for charitable purposes and keeping it, and even misrepresenting her age. The interview was not broadcast live, but there are no second takes when you're in the hot seat of a news program under studio lights. Gibson's real-time reactions and deflections were fascinating to behold. She seemingly just couldn't stop lying, and her interviewer, Tara Brown, let her off the hook for nothing.
How can we believe anything you say now?
Tara, I have lost everything.